Indian Military Review, and the Center for Joint Warfare Studies organized a 2-day webinar and virtual expo on night vision and electro-optics India on 16 to the 19th of January 2021 for the Indian Armed Forces, paramilitary forces, and industry. The event covered thermal imaging, image intensifiers, infrared detectors, surveillance and reconnaissance, laser rangefinders, weapon sights, integrated helmets, periscopes and masts, NVDs for platforms, binoculars, goggles and monocles, and fire control systems. The Director General of Infantry, Director General of Capability Development, the Director General of Armored Corps and the Additional Director General of the Army Design Bureau were among the distinguished speakers. There were 7 sessions over 2 days, and the video recording of the proceedings were rebroadcast over the next 2 days.
Jai Hind and good morning to everyone again. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege to be welcoming the chair, General Anjan Mukherjee, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, consultant OFB, and a former Director General of Artillery. I have been associated with the General over several years, and I would say that we could have found a better choice for chairing this session. He has been very actively involved in research wherever he has been, and whether it was at NDC or for the Regiment of Artillery, and he continues to be very gainfully engaged with the Ordnance Factory Board, giving them direction and vision. So, and of course, you are a distinguished fellow at St. George. So, hearty welcome to you, sir, and the floor is all yours. Thank you, sir.
Can you hear me?
You can, sir.
Yeah. General Sunil Srivastava, Director St. George, General Arora sir, Chief Editor IMR, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past 2 days, we have been discussing the evolving and operationally important electro-optics and night enablement of our armed forces, including the police forces in particular, and entire government and non-government agencies in the country. We have understood that the modern day electro-optics is an amalgamation of material science, electronics, electrical and software engineering, AI, as also material physics like lasers, LEDs, waveguides, integrated and embedded systems that provide us night enablement through the night vision devices, and many more. In practical terms, electro-optics is immensely related to electromagnetic states of materials through optical, electronic, and electrical impulses. We are aware that the crystals, non-crystals, solid electro-optical materials are the areas where immense research is going on to make the system more agile, powerful, and operational effective. Our R&D in optoelectronics should match with the Pakistani and Chinese similar equipment. Presently, the R&D is concentrating on fusion technology where image intensifier and thermal imaging are fused TI and IMOS cameras, integration of SWIR sensor technology, real-time imagery, head-up attachment systems, higher resolutions over 7 LP, development of core-based IR uncooled detectors, non-uniformity corrections of the systems using improved algorithms. But however, in my mind and with my experience all across, is that armed forces require practical solutions in time from scientists and manufacturers to solve their day-to-day problems that make the difference between the life and death, success and defeat. I will share one example with you which is an example which is very live. Last year around this time, I spoke to the chairman Ordnance Factory Board and Mr. Dixit, who is in Dehradun, heading the Ordnance Factory Dehradun, that LC is very sensitive every day. Our weapon systems like MMGs, it could work on autonomous mode without the Jawans getting exposed. So we should be able to incorporate by R&D a system within the system wherein from a long range, all the infiltrators who are trying to come are detected, followed, and when they are closer to the fence, they are shot at and fired and killed. We went with a lot of work. We also involved the Ordnance Factory Chandigarh. We involved a similar kind of system for Navy had been done by the Ordnance Factory in Medak. Also, we got the General Manager, Ordnance Factory Medak. And we have started moving forward to do something and present it to the, we got the funding also. But then the COVID came and everything has gone for a 6. But these kind of R&D work is necessary rather than showcasing R&D and being able to build very expensive systems. You'll be surprised that this kind of system would have not cost a lot of money. So with this, I will request the other panelists to come and give their presentations. First is Dr. Sudhir Khare. He's Scientist G, IRD, Dehradun, a very renowned person in IRD and in the DRDO. His work in research, design, and development in the areas of thermal imaging for last 25 years is very well known. His research interests include system design and IR signal processing. Another senior officer who is coming from DRDO, IRDE is Abhijit Chakrabarti. He will be talking on latest development of night vision in India. His area of research includes electro-optical instrumentation with special emphasis on performance evaluation of image intensifier tubes and II tubes-based devices. We also have from Ordnance Factory Board, Mr. Saurabh Bhaskar, Works Manager. I have met him in last year Defense Expo, and we had discussed on this project that we are talking about. I spoke just now. He works on sighting system of Dhanush, his improved sighting system of Dhanush. He works on muzzle bore sights of T-90 tanks, lightweight PNVDs, and array of such kind of things. Also anti-meteor rifle and assault rifle night enablement. So without taking any further time, I request Dr. Sudhir Khare to give his presentation. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My topic is future trends and emerging technologies in infrared imaging for defense application. And I will be covering some of the latest product development which we have developed in our establishment. Sir, this is the IRD is the hub of electro-optical system, and the core technologies in which IRD is working is visual imaging. Thermal imaging is basically infrared imaging, and we are also working on laser range finders and laser designators and laser fuses and line of sight stabilization also. And apart from this standalone application, these payloads are required for the dynamic platform like ship, tanks, aircraft, etc., where the need of line of sight stabilization is needed. So we are working on the LOS stabilization and developing the aero payload and giving the ballistic solution and fire control system for Indian Army. And we are also developing the system for the Navy. So basically, sir, as we know, this is the electromagnetic spectrum, and IRD is developing the system in this spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum. Our thrust area is visible and IR. Visible is 0.4 and then IITU is 0.4 to 0.9, and then infrared we are covering from 0.9 to 12 micron. And these are the some of the systems started in 1980s from IITU based site. We have developed the thermal imaging sites for GMD Mark III, then the IFCS for Mark 1 Arjun, and then in 2005-6 we have developed the electro-optical fire control system for Indian Navy, and then the holographic site and commander thermal imaging systems for T-72 tank based on the detector 320 to 256. Then we have also developed this lightweight laser target designator and the handheld thermal imager with LRF. And this handheld thermal imager with LRF, large number, more than 4,000 number are already inducted into Indian Army. And then recently all the commander thermal imaging sites for T90, T72 and BMP also we have upgraded. And this is the T90, then the T72, and commander panoramic sight for Arjun Mark II also we have developed, and some of long range electro optical based system for UAVs we have developed, and recently we have developed this border surveillance system which is successfully trial evaluated, and even process is also initiated. So IRD is progressing at R&D is progressing at IRDE, and production is at the Ordnance Factory and Bharat Electronics. And now with the government initiative, industries are also doing production through TOT policy of DRDO. So basically, sir, we are working in infrared imaging. We are working in these three bands: SWIR, MWIR, and LWIR. This is the SWIR is the short wave infrared imaging, where we use these uncooled detectors from 0.9 to 1.7 and cooled detectors from 1.7 to 2.5 micron. And we are using this 640, 500, 12, 15 micron, as well as the HD detectors are also available now with the 10 micron pitch. And we can go with F number up to 11. And SWIR based systems are very good for the dawn and dusk time, and also good penetration through the light haze. And also the beauty of these systems is we can see the laser spot also. And medium wave infrared is we are using the detector based on the indium antinomide and MCT technologies, mercury cadmium telluride. And we are using these detectors 640, 500, 12, 15 micron, 1280, 1024, 1920, 10, 1024, 15 micron and 10 micron pitch detectors. And we are using and up to 6 available. So, which results the small aperture optics. And third is the long wave infrared imaging, 8 to 12 micron, where we use the school detector MCT and T2SL. And presently, the Indian Army is having all the LWIR based system based on the second generation detector, 28824 or 48024. We have developed the third generation detector, 640 into 512, and it is under trial evaluation. We have developed the gunner sight for the T90 tank. But in the F number in long wave is low, up to 3 only we can use, so resulting the large apertures of optics. So these are basically some of the emerging requirements from the user. Improved ranges in various atmospheric conditions. Recognition ranges are more than 20-30 km for airborne platform, and the large field of view and ranges. Production in size, weight, power, and cost, and use of multiple bands, SWIR, MWIR, and LWIR. Data and image fusion of spectral information discrimination. So this is the trends in the cooled infrared detector. We have started developing the system with using the first generation detector like 60 element or 240 element detector. And then we have developed system based on the second generation detector, 258 into 4 and 480 into 6. And now we are using everywhere third generation detector, 320, 256, 640, 512, 1K, 1K, and also 2K, 2K also we have used megapixel third generation detectors. And now the trend is coming for using these hot detectors also, which operates at high temperature of 150 Kelvin. Generally, we have to cool these detector to 77 K. So we are developing system based on the hot detectors also, and also we are working on the dual color and dual band detectors, which is required for the multispectral broadband systems for development. So this is night enablement of AFVs, night enablement of in this project, and recently we have completed this project. So basically, as per the directions from Honorable RM to night enable Indian Army, these commander sites we have developed for T90, T72, and BMP. So approximately 5,000 numbers of total AFVs, T90, T72, and BMPs are there with Indian Army, and where the commander can see only up to 700 meters during night. It was fitted with the IC tube based technology. So we have closely interacted with the user, and we have implemented the TI channel in all T90, T72, and BMP in form fit configuration without armor cutting, while retaining the existing optical day sight. And also we have integrated the LRF in T90. So now commander of T90 can fire also. So this is the very successful project, and we have realized the heights, and it is very extensively user trials, summer trial, winter trials, DGQA, MET, and EMI-EMC, all trials completed. And this is the sighting system for the T90. You can see this is the Russian TKM-4S, and this is the TKM-3 T72. And this all trials are completed. And now this contract has been signed with the Bell as a production agency worth rupees 963 crore. And also we have signed for OEM tanks. We have signed the contract with the production agency OLF with the production order worth rupees 188 crore for supply of CTI T72. And another contract has been signed with Bell with the production order 1072 crore for supply of CTIs for BMP. And for CTI T90 also, we have received some order for the OLF versions of site, and for Bell site, it is under GS evaluation. So we have generated the comprehensive TOT document and also transferred the TOT to the this is just one video you can see. Then this is the video is taken from the HSTI, which is already inducted with the Indian Army. You can see this shadow. So this is the video of this cross-border attack, and you can see this is the basically this is the second generation HSTI, which is already with the Indian Army, and this video was captured through this HSTI, and you can see it is basically camouflage suit is not detected very clearly by this HSTI. So now Army is having already this 8 to 12 micron HSTI, and also we have developed this handheld thermal imager with laser range finder, also the CCT, GPS, and DMC. All 5 sensors housed in 3.5 kg housing with the battery endurance of more than 4 hours, and it is based on the third generation detector and working in 3 to 5 micron. So now Army is having both the bands. So if we are not able to detect some target in 8 to 12, so we can use this 3 to 5 also. And this is the basically specification. This is the detector we have developed under Indo-Israel Management Council by the joint funding between DRDO and Israeli Ministry of Defense. And this is the very good detector we have developed, and it is the multi-sensor and ergonomic design with the battery endurance of 4 hours and large field of view, and battery is 14.4 volt DC. And already 4,000 numbers of HSTIs are produced and delivered to Indian Army. And also Northern Command also has purchased some 34 numbers of these HSTI with LR. But this handheld device are used this in the cross-border attack, but could not fire because the weapon is not integrated. So IRD is also developing system for weaponization of HSTI. So you can see this is also HSTI, and then this MMG gun and all are also available with the Indian Army. So we have basically integrated this MMG with the HSTI so that remotely, so that we can fire also by seeing through HSTI. So this we have already realized the prototype model, and ruggedized model is under development and already demonstrated to user in Northern Command area. So this project is also a very good project. And based on the success of HSTI, now we have developed the prototype version of multi-spectral surveillance system. So basically here we are covering from 0.4 to 5 micron. 0.4 to 0.7 micron is the CCD. And then we have used one detector, is the CINIT detector, which covers from 1 to 5 micron. It has the SWIR detector as well as the MWIR detector. And the main features are the imaging day and night. And you can see this combined observation is SWIR plus MWIR, and better imaging through the smoke and haze because of the SWIR. And also the beauty of this SWIR also, it can image the eye-safe laser on battlefield. Portable lightweight system, tripod mounted, we have already developed, and you can see some of the imagery. It is at 8 kilometer distance. These are the images of only MWIR, SWIR, broadband, and you can see the laser spot also. You can see this is the laser spot traces, which we cannot see in other systems. This is another development we have developed because in all the sites which are with the Indian Army are based on the second generation detector, LW sites. So we have developed this third generation Type 2 superlattice detector under Indo-Israel Management Council with the joint funding of the DRDO and Israeli Ministry of Defense. And we have developed on this detector third generation 640 and 512, and also designed and developed one TI system for the basically gunner TI site for the this P9. So because of the obsolescence problem of the existing site, we have developed this site and it is under user evaluation. Presently, user trials are successfully completed and it is presently at the DGQ evaluation. And its recognition range is 4 kilometers. You can see these are some of the video taken from this Type 2 superlattice based site. Is very clearly you can see these vehicles and all up to 2 kilometer, and this is 1.3 kilometer. This is 14 kilometer ranges. Also, you can detect systems. This is another is the advanced driver night site we have developed for again the AFB application. It is based on the uncooled detector 640 into 480 microbolometer detector with a very large field of view which is required for the driver. And also we are fusing the image TI image with the day camera. So you can see in the this is night time we have taken because with the TI we cannot see the light. So we have fused the images with the day camera. So you can see this is the fused video where you can see the lights also. So which helps driver to drive the tank in the night. You can see the image quality. It is also under user evaluation. Very useful for the tank application as well as for other application also, LIC application, and for paramilitary forces also it is very useful. This is the system, the border surveillance system. Basically, we have developed, and it is all-weather surveillance device comprising of the thermal imager, radar, laser rangefinder, CCD, GPS, and DMC, and it is also integrated with the hybrid power source. and this camera is at the observation post and can look 15 kilometers ahead, and it can be controlled from the control station, which is situated 10 to 15 kilometer line of sight behind the observation post. So effectively we are 25 kilometers away from the target. So this is with the hybrid power source. If the voltage goes down less than 24 volt, then genset will automatically switch on and switch off as it reaches to the 28 volt. And it is a very successful project, and 2 units are already deployed at the northern command range, and central command also we have deployed one system, and GSPR is issued, and UN process for the 50 number is already initiated. And we have captured some of the video. You can see the quality of the video. This is detection as 12 kilometer, but you can clearly recognize or identify the vehicle. This is in daytime in the Leh area. Similarly, you can see this is again daytime. This is nighttime video. This is at 4 kilometer man movement, you can see. This is a system, basically directed energy weapon. So this is the project of the CHES Hyderabad lab, but we have given all our electro-optical payload, and it is 10 kilowatt system. And you can see it is also demonstrated to user number of times, and this is the video. You can see it is this target is burning here and here also, and this is gimbal based system. This is the EUTS, electro-optical tracking system, with all sensor CCTV we have provided. CCTV we have. You can see this burning with the laser. This is again another camera, megapixel sensor. So we have developed this megapixel detector based system also to cover the large field of view. As you can see, this is the 1280 into 1024 15 micron f5.5 system, giving the equivalent performance with the 1920 1536 10 micron f4 system with the better resolution and almost double field of view. So we have realized one camera, this megapixel camera. This camera is also integrated with the anti-drone system, and it is having the CCD LRF also. You can see the benefits of using this megapixel camera. We can zoom, electronic zoom. Apart from the optical zoom, we can use 4x, 8x, 16x without losing the resolution. You can see this is the house at 1 kilometer. This is the wide field of view image, very wide coverage. Again, these are the detectors which we will be using. It is under procurement. This is the hot detectors. It is working at 150 Kelvin. You can see the image quality at 150 Kelvin also. We can clearly identify the images and all. So these IR detectors are operating at 150 Kelvin and giving the better resolution and longer ranges. And this will be the low power consumption and lightweight equipment. Overall 50% increase in the performance, and very good for surveillance and devices. So we are developing the system also. So this is the basically TI current trends is the IR detector is the high format FPA and low swap like hot detectors 180K, 150K less power consumption, multi-spectral and MWIR or dual color or dual band. Similarly, in electronics also, the low footprint.
Dr. Khare, another 2-3 minutes, please.
Yes, sir. It will be finished, sir. 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
High frame rate, high speed TI camera, image fusion also we are giving. So this is the current trends. Optical engineering also, the new optical material like chalcogenide and the optics design and fabrication techniques with the diffractive optics, continuous zoom optics. These are the trends. And this is the futuristic infrared sensor with the MWIR with the smaller pitch than 5 micron and LW also 12 micron. And the high performance detector with the high temperature, hot detectors 150 Kelvin. And this is the wired, the ability to fabricate the complete focal plane arrays at the wafer scale, and MWIR imager able to operate at temperature that do not require the cryo cooling. And this persistence surveillance systems for medium and large army camps with the 360-degree situational awareness by low resolution day and TIs. So this is the trends. Again, trends, the miniaturization of new functionalities of uncooled and cooled thermal imagers, embedded systems on the vehicle, naval and airborne platform, dual band thermal imager with image fusion, modern multi-sensor surveillance system for airborne platform, then the open port, DC MOS and optronic warfare systems. Here are some of the technology gaps, basically manufacturing, because we are other than the detector, we are doing everything indigenous in IRDE, but the manufacturing of IDDCA, still we don't have the manufacturing of IDDCA in India for cooled and uncooled thermal imager. So we have submitted one TOT proposal with the Army recommendations to our headquarters. It is lying with the Government of India now to take up the TOT of these MWIR detectors and LWIR detectors for the manufacturing in India under Atmanirbhar Bharat. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Khare. What I can understand is that your lab is doing, has been doing a wonderful job in this field. And the strength of our optoelectronics in the country, it is on the shoulder of your lab, no doubt about it. But I've got one or two questions. One is, what about the fuse systems of TII, which is so much important for our tank crews and AFVs and things like that? So are you working on the fuse systems? And if you are doing, where have you reached? One. Second is, one more question. And second question is, BMP2 work, I was talking to Senior General Manager Avdi, Mr. Prasad, and he is also working very closely with you all for the night enablement of the BMPs. But where have you reached?
Sir, as you already mentioned, like IA tube based systems and TI based TI systems are very much needed for Indian Army. So as I already, sir, showed you the night enablement of these AFVs, the existing form fit configuration, we have already completed, sir, for T72 and BMP. Already, I think Bharat Electronics out of 3,500 number, approximately 2,500 number already integrated with the tanks, and it is with the Indian Army. And for T90, sir, OLF got the order, and for BEL, it is under the GS evaluation. Similarly, the handheld thermal imager, sir, more than 4,000 numbers already delivered with Indian Army, and it is giving very good performance. And regarding this driver night sites, which we have developed, it is for BMP2 and T90 are under trial evaluation at various locations, including the Medak and the Pokhran field firing range. And we are continuous in touch with the our DGMF directorate for the further instructions and all. And for BMP2 upgrade also, sir, we have developed sighting system with the BEL Chennai. So very soon it will be also be inducted, sir. So, and similarly, the border surveillance system also, sir, it is 2 systems already deployed at northern command.
That we know. Now, one last question is, what is the battery you're using? Is it lithium battery or nickel cadmium batteries?
Sir, we are using lithium ion, lithium polymer and lithium ion, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for a wonderful talk. And a lot of things none of us know. You have told us, and we are that much more confident. Thanks a lot.
Because time is less, sir. So I have covered only the latest system. Otherwise, We have more systems to show, but we will show
No,
some
we
other
know
things.
your lab's background, the amount of work, the technological integration that you are doing. It will take 2 days if everything has to be told. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
General Arora, sir. Right. So now we move on to Abhijit Chakravarti. He is scientist E, like I mentioned, and he is also working on similar systems. Abhijit, can you take on?
Yes, sir. Sir, just a second. So, can you see my screen, sir?
Yes.
Sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Abhijit Chakravarti. I have been working in the field of night vision devices, IIT-based night vision devices for past 14-15 years. My field actually is not constrained to the IIT-based devices, but right now for this forum, I choose the night vision devices IIT-based only for my talk, because currently what is happening that there is some amount of ambiguity that I feel, because being a designer, developer, and also a characterization agency, IIT has a big role to play in that particular aspect. When I got this opportunity to speak on the latest trends in night vision devices, because by trends normally we feel the technological trends, whatever. But right now, for a mature technology like the night vision device based on IIT, for a mature technology, instead of discussing the technological, I would be more constrained myself towards the evaluation challenges that the nation is facing. Because, sir, you see that already a large number of IIT-based devices are in service, are being used by various forces. But what are the QRs, the formulation of the QR, the characterization of the devices? Those things, a lot of ambiguity over that portion. Sir, so basically, for this, I have broken the content into two parts: the basics of those devices and the evolution and trends of the devices. So, I think this forum is well equipped with all the basics that are required for the IIT-based night vision devices. So, I'll just rush through them. In basics, we are covering the irradiation. So this is the electromagnetic radiation, as Sudhir Khare sir already brought out that this is our focus area in night vision devices. These are the illuminations of the full moon, quarter moon, well seen by everybody. The full moon light level and the starlight light levels. This is a basic image intensifier tube and the working of it. Now, here I like to make one point only, that although there are so many benefits of the image intensifier tube based devices, it is small in size, it is small, it takes less power, it is less weight and everything. There is only one drawback, is that it converts the visible plus NIR spectrum into visible spectrum. So basically you are losing on the spectral information, whereas you are gaining the amplitude information because you are amplifying all the wavelengths to one wavelength. So that is one thing. These are the spectral response of the photocathodes. Here I have brought out some new super photocathodes which are under development. Basically, this is the upcoming super 251, 252 series. These are not in production yet. These are in the research stage yet. They have somewhat better radiant gain in comparison to the existing Super S25, but they are constrained by the wavelength approach. Right now in the country, we have this Super S25. These are the phosphors. So this is the much hype of this phosphor, the P45, the white phosphor is of much hype. So you can see this P45, why I am specifying this P45, because I am regularly getting queries regarding the white phosphor based image intensifier tubes. This is P45. This and this, these are also P45. All the blue colors are the P45 ones. So this P45 phosphor is basically a gamut of colors. That's why it is a white phosphor. So normally what in country we are using the P43 or the P22 phosphorus. So they are greenish, they have a greenish output, which is soothing to the eyes. So the narrative which is going on is that the P45 phosphors are giving better contrast because they have a grayish hue to the image that they are producing in a white and black format. Okay, so I have gone through that, and already we have not tested the P45, but depending on the performance parameters that we have got for the P45, I can very well say that at first instance, P45 will offer a very good vision to the user, but in the long run, the P43 phosphors or the P22 phosphors are going to be better because these phosphors are green in color, so they are soothing to the user. For long usages, the green color will be more preferable over a black and white phosphor. Number one. Number two, if you can see this portion of the P45. This portion of the P45 is blue. So basically you are exposing your eyes to the blue radiations. The blue radiations in the dark is very damaging to the eyes because you will see in the latest mobile phones also there is a blue light filter. When you are using the mobile in the night, it says a blue blocking something they use in the, so that they cut off the blue, they reduce the blue. So that these 2 points are there I think in contrary to what the other claims are there regarding the P45. This is the basic field configuration. This is the anatomy of the night vision device of how it images. So there is an objective lens, it inverts the image, and then the image intensifier tube amplifies it and it goes into the eye. This is the evolution of the IR tube, image intensifier tube, over the various years. So basically right now, what we are staring at, in country, we are producing the Hypergen tubes. Hypergen tubes through TOT from Photonics France, Bell Optronics Pune is producing these Hypergen tubes. In country, through various other manufacturers and vendors, we are getting the Gen3 tubes. So this is the basically how the tube are there. This is basically the best tubes in the world. That is their Feb 2020 data sheet that they have offered. So these particular tubes are there. So what is happening that and these are the indigenous multi-LCD based tubes that are being produced here in country. So there is a wide going debate regarding the quality of the Gen3 tubes vis-a-vis the current tubes which we are making in India. So this basically there is a parameter called the figure of merit parameter, which is basically a commercial parameter for categorizing the tubes for the commercial sales. It is basically the product of the signal to noise ratio, which is measured at 108 microlux, and the limiting resolution of the image intensifier tube. The limiting resolution of the image intensifier tube is measured at a light level, which produces the maximum contrast. It is written in the mil specs also that it has to be measured at a light level, which produces the maximum contrast. If we do the testing of those tubes, we get that light level to be approximately around half moonlight. So at half moonlight, so one parameter which is measured at half moonlight and the other parameter which is measured at cloudy starlight. So we are marrying these two parameters together to get the third parameter, which is the figure of merit. So from our context, basically it is the SNR is more important because when we go for the operation, in the operation, the SNR gives us the best resolution. The tube with the maximum SNR will give you the maximum resolution because you will be able to discern that resolution that is available there in the tube. So, but nevertheless, we are also going along with it, but we are conducting our own research also. I'll bring it, I have it there in my slides. I'll show you that these are the Gen3 tubes which are basically available. These are the Pinnacle P, Pinnacle P Plus, these are available, whereas Pinnacle YG and Pinnacle Ultra are not readily available. They can be available as part of a big procurement. Say, for example, we are procuring a fighter plane or something, then they will come as a fitment for the pilot. or through for the Navy, they will come as part of the other fitment, but not directly procured. In India, at Belloc, we are manufacturing the indigenous multi-alkali based tube. These are the various TOTs which has happened over the years with Messrs. Photonis France. So in 2013, it was 1250 FOM. In 2019, it has come up to 1600 FOM. Whereas this is the minimum FOM that we are able to produce in India. And the maximum is, I have tested myself, I have tested tubes having FOM of 1900, which have come from Belloc. So these are the two types of tubes that they are producing. One is having a limiting resolution of 60. One is having an optional limiting resolution of 64 or 72. This 72 is got by the use of separate MCP. Separate MCP they are using of 5.5 micron MCP. So they get this. Okay. But the bulk of the tubes are with the 64 line pair parameter. Similarly, the SNRs are also good. But the one thing that is very good with these tubes, these indigenous multi-alkali based tubes, is the dia of the halo and the shock. With Gen 3 tubes, the shock levels are approximately 80 G or so, whereas here the shock levels are 500 G. That
we need another 2-3 minutes.
Certainly, sir. I'll just take 2-3 minutes. Okay, sir. So this is the shock. So that thing. Now at IID, we are basically positioned at a place where we can design. We have been designing and developing the night vision devices, and we are also the characterization agency. So that gives us the liberty. This is basically how over the years the night vision devices that we have made, they are progressed from 90s to 2000, now then 2000. Now this is the latest night vision device that we have made. This is made from the ICMOS device, integrated, that intensified the CMOS device. So that I will come up with. These are the recent areas, sir. These are actually 3 areas that I have chosen: the image intensified tubes itself, the night vision device, and the intensified CMOS camera. So the thrust area for the image intensified tube is the auto gating performance of the tube, which results in having a highlight resolution of 55 line pair per mm. So you can see that 200 lux. 200 lux is the light level at which I am sitting, you are sitting. That is 200 lux. Here also you can get a resolution of 55 line pair per mm. That is pretty commendable. And so that means you can use this particular device in city areas also, inside buildings. Then the second thing is we have realized that IID, so it has got a CMOS sensor inside the intensifier system. The IID contributions to the nation regarding this are the measurement facilities that we offer and the number of tubes that we measured in the years. This year actually due to the corona pandemic, so there was some issues, so number of tubes is there. Otherwise, repeatedly we are measuring tubes. We are providing measurement facilities for all the multi-alkali based and the Gen 3 devices. This is the role that I mentioned regarding the role of figure of merit in the IIT performance. Basically, it was a very burning issue in which the figure of merit was touted as the one parameter which was a universal parameter for deciding between the various quality of image intensified tubes. So we conducted a study. We conducted an extensive lab evaluation, field evaluation, and simulations also. And as a result of those evaluations, we found that for ranges greater than 500 meters, we can go for 64 line pair and 25 SNR tubes. But for less than 500 meters, we can use the optics to meet the standards and get a 64 line pair and 22 SNR tube. We can use that. Right now, I have been commissioned a study in which I basically comparing the multi-alkali based Gen 2 devices and the Gen 3 devices. So that study I am taking up at IIT. So the inferences that I can draw from the characterization of image intensified tubes and NVDs. So basically what happens that I wanted to bring this up in this forum because what is happening? There is no the QRs are very lax. What QRs that we are floating? I am testing for national forces, state forces, MHA agencies, any agency in India. I am testing the tubes. So here we can totally see that basically there are tubes which are really good and there are tubes which are not good. They are literally rubbish, those tubes. Because what they are doing, they are getting some grey market tubes, they are refurbishing it and submitting it for tenders. And this is the specification which are the QRs. These are the specification from the prevalent RFPs and QRs. The mention of the central resolution, the SNR and FOM, these are the basic parameters which find the mention. So what happens when a tube is submitted for a particular tender? I have to test only these two parameters and the product is this. Whereas the other parameters which are much more important, they are not mentioned. I would like to cite an example. I'll take some a moment, sir, for this example, because I did the testing for the anti-Naxal forces Force 1, which is Maharashtra. Force 1 is the anti-Naxal force for Maharashtra. So they did a procurement in which they had these QRs, same type QRs, and they did the procurement. And what they found, that tubes were all with dark spots, and dark spots was not mentioned. They had mentioned the tube must be mill compliant, but the mill says 65 dark spots are allowed. Now, 65 dark spots for a commando force which is going against the Naxals in the jungle areas, that is totally unacceptable. So, what we did, we have gone through our study and we have made these recommendations to be as part of the QRs. So these recommendations, basically we are specifically mentioning the dark spots. So you can see that zone 1 is the central zone. There must not be any dark spot in the central zone. 3 maximum and 5 maximum are the following dark spots. Apart from that, the scintillations in the tube is due to the high EBI, the equivalent background illumination. If it is not mentioned, we have actually asked them to mention it. These are the points that we have given, and now these are the exemplary QRs which are already there. This is from the army, this is from the BSF under discussion, and this is Force 1 Maharashtra, which has gone back and revised its specifications. And now these are the QRs. Along with that, Indian Army has gone one step ahead and they have included system gain also as part of their QRs. So what I mean to say that this is the role that we have played and we are playing in this particular scenario in which a technology has matured and we are at a position to test the available all the participants in the market and suggest that, okay, this is not good and this is good and you should filter your criteria based on that. So that's what I mean. That's what my point is, that my latest trend as per this is the proper characterization and QR formulation for the induction of devices into the forces. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Thanks a lot, Abhijit. In fact, for these kind of equipment, I feel the most important part is the testing and making of the QRs. If these are not being made properly, the loss to the exchequer is huge. So this work that you people are doing is of great value to all of us. Thank you very much. Very well presented. Now I will address myself to Mr. Bhaskar. We have met earlier once, and the amount of work you people are doing in Dehradun is, we all know it, and many more challenges are underway for you all. So please take on your presentation.
Is my presentation visible? Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir. Good morning, sir. Today I will be briefly presenting the manufacturing sites and new equipments. My presentation is mainly inclined towards the mass manufacturing and the challenges we face at the design stage and the issues that are relevant to us at the point of mass production. The first is image intensive fire based that we have manufactured from last Kargil war. We are manufacturing these night vision devices and for surveillance and target acquisition over short range, say up to 600 meters. These IIT based night vision devices over these new generation like TI and all that means that in real life what you can eye with your own eye in a 3D that you see, but while in you get a 2D image formed on a screen, so there is a lesser depth of perception. Real time there is a lag between the frame and the image that we get. Now we are developing these night sights for assault rifles, and at the very design stage itself, what we face the moment we get the JSQR and in the design stage, between the QR parameters, that is the magnification, the range, the eye relief that we get, because these parameters are mutually compensating. Suppose you increase your magnification and aperture to a higher, then the weight will automatically increase. So you have to keep a balance between them. So we are trying to strike a balance between the systems so that optimum parameter of magnification everything is achieved for a soldier. And in the manufacturing also we are manufacturing. We are giving a special coating to meet the transmission range, that is 500 nanometer to 900 nanometer, and we also have 3 coating plants for the bulk production. Now, when we talk about this thermal imagers, coming these electronic intensive devices like fusion and multi-sensor devices. At the design stage, we have to choose on the sensors, softwares that will go into the systems, and while at the we have to first make an environment in which these sophisticated systems can be handled, that is clean rooms, ESD safe environment, and also testing equipments. Here we have the clean rooms, the electrostatic safe facilities, and also the testing stations for mass production and meeting the requirement of armed forces. Now, although this is a night vision presentation, but I would like to cover this. These days, there is much talked upon thing that is clear. The user is insisting that they don't have to again zero their weapon after they support 10 to 15 rounds they use in zeroing. Then they can use the day sight in conjunction with the night sight. Suppose they have already zeroed the weapon with the day sight, then they can simply put on an IIT based night sight or say TI sight in front of the day sight and take it for the operation without again zeroing it and wasting the rounds. For that, we are keeping in mind the clip-on feature of these day sights, and also we have developed for the assault rifle. Then it is very compact and 400 grams in weight, and also for a higher range, we have developed anti-material rifle telescope, which has got a magnification of 12x and a range of 2. Lower right corner you can see. Now, coming to the more sophisticated equipments that will lead them in the next coming years are multi-sensor equipments, in which we integrate almost multiple sensors at the same platform, from the thermal images to LRF to CCD to low light camera to GPS. Means when we are designing it, we have to keep in mind the form factor also, because in a limited space you have to embed every system from GPS to all these cameras, so that we can get a harmonized output, because all these sensors have to be integrated and harmonized, so that we can get a output which is harmonized with all these sensors. Now coming to the upcoming technologies that we are working on, that still are to come in coming years, that you have already emphasized, that is the fusion system, in which we have taken a project to fuse the thermal imager with a low light system. Means that IIT has also given in the presentation that it can fuse the low light and the TI side, so that the image that we get is a fused one, and also it is AI enabled. We have taken one project with our Nagpur Training Institute to feed a AI enabled system, in which we have taken at least minimum 500 of photographs of targets and feed it into the system, and the system is able to recognize yes, it is a human being or a dog or something else, or a tank or a vehicle. So in the next 1 or 2 years we can have a system with each soldier, so that if he is before he is able to detect, or his eye is able to detect that yes, it is a vehicle or it is a human being, the camera will automatically give a log that yes, a human being is moving, and it is the system. And we are also matching the ballistics of each of the system, each of the weapon with the sight. So for every, be it LMG to assault rifle to MMGs, we have to make a customized ballistic and put it in the system, so that the ballistics will match with the sighting system. That's all from my side. Thank you, sir.
I have got a question. Just explain to us how much work on artificial intelligence you people are doing in the field that you are working.
Sir, last year we have taken a project with our NADP, National Academy of Defense Production, which is dedicatedly working upon this artificial intelligence, and they have also made that video is not available with me. We have from the thermal. We initially took hundreds of photos, 500 in numbers. Then we put it in the system, and let the system learn that yes, it is a human being, or it is an animal, or it is a vehicle. So now when this system actually we have to get the output from the thermal imager, and there is an interface board, interface PCB, which collects the information and gives the output to the display. So that interface PCB is under development, and sir, it will take time, maybe 1 or 2 years to come into mass production, because every aspect has to be checked. But sir, the prototype has been realized, and sir, in any upcoming presentation, I will show you the video also.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a very interesting session on the R&D, which is so important for such products, because a tank will continue for 20 years, you will upgrade it. But electronic systems and all this kind of system that we have discussed just now, they have got a very short shelf life as compared. So another 4 to 5 years, we have to get to the next level, which costs a lot of money to the government of India, as also the army. So if we can have integrated systems, which only we can keep doing add-ons, we don't have to throw out the systems, then it is a better thing to happen. Let us see where we go. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to all the speakers. It has been a very good discussion and presentations. Thank you.
There is a question there from Anisha Raj. What materials are you currently considering for NVD enclosures and the inside mechanical plates?
This can be answered by the specialist. May I know who can take it on?
Sir, can you repeat, sir, question? Sir, can you repeat question, sir, once again?
Arora,
Yes,
sir?
yes. What materials are you currently considering for NVD enclosures and the inside mechanical plates?
Sir, we are using aluminum and magnesium alloy.
Okay. There is another question. What is the recommended for the QR and for the industry to work on for development likewise? Not very clear about it. And there is another one. There is contrast in user requirements and R&D with respect to green phosphorus and white phosphorus.
I'll take these.
Abhijit, you can take on.
Yeah.
Or you can take, Acha, Bhaskar, you take on. Tell me.
Sir, can you repeat the question, sir? It is regarding the R&D and the QR.
There are two questions. One is there is a contrast in user requirements and an R&D with respect to green phosphorus and white phosphorus. And the second is what is recommended for the QR and for the industry to work on it for development.
Sir, we are till now we are working only on green phosphorus that we get supplies from Benok, Pune. Abhijit, sir, if you can appreciate the question, sir.
Yes. So I'll take both these questions, sir. Sir, first regarding the QRs. Sir, actually, as you saw in my presentation, basically the performance of the device is determined by the range that we require, the user, what range it requires. So based on that, we can choose different IR tubes to suit our range requirements. The most critical criteria is not the SNR. The most critical criteria is the user fatigue. Means I can make a device which meets the range requirements, but how long the user will be able to use it. So first thing is that you need to have a noise-free device. If a device is noise-free, then the SNR will be automatically be good. Then the resolution will also be high. These are actually interlinked parameters. So, for example, I am going to have a device having ranges 200 meters, 300 meters. Then I'll have a EBI of 0.15 or 0.2, not more than that. And a resolution of 64, 22, 24, that kind of a 24 is good enough. So that kind of a devices I'll choose. But my criteria will be less number of dark spots and low value of EBI. And also if the operation requires, then a good value of highlight resolution. Now, if I am going for long range devices in case of NVDs, for example, 400, 500, 600 meters or something like that, then my SNR will increase, but the EBI will also increase with the SNR. Now, the increase in EBI is going to cause scintillations, which is not acceptable. So there is an upper limit for the EBI. EBI cannot exceed 0.25. So that should be taken in consideration, that EBI is less than 0.25. SNR can be 25, 26, and resolution can be 64, 68, whatever. More, my thing is that the focus area is there should be less dark spots, there should be less noise, and there should be a good SNR. So that is what this is the first part of the question regarding the QRs. The second part is regarding the green and the white phosphor. As I brought out in my presentation, this is actually hotly debated topic right now, because as you can see that the white phosphor comes with a number of wavelengths. I've shown in my presentation also, white phosphor is blue light. Now imagine looking at your mobile phone at the dead of night. are you comfortable looking at for long periods of time? And also the mobile phone is actually big, but when you are looking at a night vision device, then it is a 18 mm circle. Looking at that 18 mm circle, which is emitting blue wavelength for long extended periods of time, it will cause eye fatigue. As far as the thing goes, that for long periods of time, green color is recommended. That is a medical fact, not a physical fact. And also, if the ranges are getting met and taking both the points in account, then I think green color will be the recommended thing. Sir.
We have finished then. Thank you very much, Thoda. Thank you very much, General Srivastav. This portion of the presentations are over. You can please take on.
Once again, sir, thank you so much, and thanks to the panelists. The session has very clearly brought into focus what our present capabilities are, particularly of the IRDE. As far as the R&D capabilities of our private labs are concerned, they, I think, gave us a very clear idea on Saturday. So at the end of the day, while we conclude the seminar as such, a webinar, what has come out quite clearly is that, yes, there is a huge gap in our requirements and our present holdings and capabilities. But having said that, we are very well poised with whatever technology that the user wants majorly is available with our indigenous efforts, whether it's the private sector or whether it is our OFB and DPSUs, the labs. I think we are very much there, particularly as far as fusion is concerned, integration is concerned, we are very much there. As far as image intensification is concerned, user requirements getting into figure of merit of 2200 and so forth, we may not be there as yet. But as one of the speakers very clearly pointed out, is that taking it beyond 1800 gives you a marginal advantage of about 10%. So the user has to be clear as to what cost and benefits are there in asking for a particular specification. It also came out quite clearly that there is a crying need for more jointness in our defining our QRs, that is one. And secondly, in ensuring that protocols eventually now with whatever we are seeing, the ability of peer adversaries to spot you, to find you, to fix you, and to finally strike you, those abilities are growing by the day, and we have seen it demonstrated. So therefore, more and more fighting is going to be dispersed. And when it is dispersed, we have to get into a mechanism, a philosophy of distributed way of war fighting. So that means largely that people will have to get at the tactical level more autonomous in their decision making. So autonomy by day and night will have to come together, because more and more users are wanting a day and night fusion, multispectral coverage. So what I'm coming to is that fighting capabilities, whether by day and night, will have to be brought in together. The user is wanting more and more miniaturization, size, weight, power requirements, all the parameters. At the same time, there has to be artificial intelligence applied at that level, because the current approach of taking all the inputs, fusing them, analyzing them, and feeding them forward, that hierarchical way of feeding information may not be a good way to go, because networks are very unlikely to survive. So we need to be looking at more and more integration. That the communication technology has to move in step with using the digital information that the night vision technology is bringing to us. I'm sure a lot of users would have had a walkthrough at the digital exhibition, and they would have had a lot of one-on-one interactions with everybody in the virtual halls. Though the questions came up only in this session, but I think a meaningful interaction would be triggered with this coming together. because the buy-in was there from the senior-most levels, then from the participants, from the ADB and all the other development agencies, the users themselves. So everybody, all these stakeholders were together. We will be able to take the story forward, and we'll be very happy to see the final outcome of the webinar as a material put together, which General Ravi Arora and his team will finally put together at the end of the webinar, as also the report that Ernst & Young would have produced. So I take this opportunity to thank the IMR, General Arora and his entire team, St. George, Brigadier Rajat Upreti, who has been at it, and the entire team of people involved everywhere, all the participants, all the chairs and panelists for their very active participation. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
With your permission, it remains for me, it's my privilege on behalf of the Center for Joint Warfare Studies and on behalf of Indian Military Review to firstly thank the headquarters IDS, the Army, Navy, Air Force headquarters DRDO, and headquarters BSF for having nominated speakers, made them available, and for